So, we've got something new today, as I'd mentioned. You guys didn't manage to capture what was going on before I started clicking record for this episode. But today, we are honored to have the one and only Saima Anwar, a qualified therapist and counselor, with us. So, before we crack on, Saima, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
So, like you said, I'm a qualified therapist and counsellor. I currently work at Invictus Wellbeing, which is a mental health charity for children and young people. So they have quite a few projects across sort of Bradford, Halifax, and most recently they've started some projects in Huddersfield, the Kirklees side of things, because that was something that was really lacking in Kirklees, a place where people could refer in children and young people, and the CAMHS waiting list, as you know, is absolutely huge, and there's such a long waiting list as well. So they've managed to get some contracts from CAMHS and places like that. So it's really, really growing. So I'm honoured to be a part of the Kirklees team for Invictus. I also volunteer at Kirkwood Hospice. Again, so honoured to be a part of that team as well. The counselling team is incredible, and we provide support for people that have been diagnosed with a terminal illness all the way up to death, and also provide support to the carers and family and friends and stuff for them.
And why do you do what you do? What does it mean to you?
I'm really passionate about mental health. I believe that everybody should be feeling their best mentally, just the way we would go to a doctor if we weren't feeling very well, if there was something wrong with us. Physically, it should be the same concept mentally. There's so much stigma around it as well, which obviously we need to tackle and we need to talk about
I
more.
mean, you've used the word. I think we can go straight into that conversation. So, I mean, do you want to address some of the stigmas that surround mental health that you feel need tackling at the moment? What are those stigmas?
So, I mean, especially in the South Asian community, for example, there's stigmas such as, well, what stays in the house, what happens in the house should stay in the house. Things like, for example, men. It's especially common amongst men, where it's a sign of masculinity to stay quiet and to just sort of get on with it, which is far from the truth. We all need help sometimes, and these stigmas from community, culturally, as well. It's a struggle for a lot of people.
How do you feel like people should tackle those?
I think being completely honest with one another, not hiding it, not seeing it as a bad thing. Like I said before, when you're feeling unwell physically, you go to a doctor. There's no shame in that. So why do you feel shame asking for help when it comes to your mental health?
Have you seen the effects of people internalizing these sorts of stigmas? Could you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know of one person, this is going back about 10 years, which to be fair isn't that long. They went to the doctor, they went to see a female white doctor, and she was going through a lot of abuse at home. The doctor referred her for counselling sessions, and anyway, she was on the waiting list. She had a couple of physical issues that she went back to the doctors a couple of weeks later, and this time she saw a South Asian male doctor. He saw the notes from her previous records, and he said to her, he goes, I've noticed you're on the waiting list. All I want to say is what happens at home stays at home. And for someone who's suffering with abuse on a day-to-day basis, for a health
A healthcare
professional,
professional said this to
a
her.
doctor, and this is only going back 10 years, and it just makes me, it's quite upsetting actually, and it's very
So,
dangerous.
so this is something that's you feel is so deeply embedded in culture
Yes.
and in probably religion as well for some people, that
Yeah.
it's become a thing that people feel like they should only like keep things within their family, and they should just, because this is one of the things that I've had people say to me, to ask you this question regarding when some people turn to religious figures for support,
Yeah.
the sort of guidance and support that they get is just pray more, just trust God, and just pray and things will get better. And they feel like that's too much of a broad thing to say, and it doesn't particularly work with everything.
Absolutely. I mean, from experience, from people around me as well, what's the first thing you do when you're feeling down? You turn to God. So most likely those people have already turned to God. They've already, praying more and things like that and stuff. But it just doesn't end there. I mean, you still have to seek help. It's like saying, oh, I'm not feeling well. I've got there's something wrong with I don't know, stomach issues or whatever. But okay, just pray more then. It just makes zero sense.
Nope, not at all. And that's what I mean. It's these sorts of conversations that are had in households and amongst family members that mean people don't get the help that they need. And that's the sort of question I'm asking you. Have you seen the effect of that yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I know I did a research study at the beginning of the year as part of my training.
Okay.
And it was trying to identify the barriers that South Asian communities face. So a lot of that was about the stigmas surrounding like you said, religion. Now, religion and culture are completely two different things. A lot of things with the South Asian community is that they confuse religion
with culture.
Which is completely wrong. I mean, we're allowed to be sad. We're allowed to ask for help, So yeah, it would be great if community members and religious leaders would do more. And one of the questions I asked is, what would allow you to feel like you're okay to go for counselling? Like, what would encourage you? And most of the men in that questionnaire, they responded with, if community leaders and religious leaders spoke more about it and it encouraged us, that's the only way we would go for counselling.
And so these people feel like they have to turn to their imams, their scholars, to get referred to get that sort of support.
Yeah, almost asking for permission just so that it's okay.
And this is the thing, what sort of effect do you think that has on these men and their families?
Well, firstly, they're probably reluctant to even ask for help because they see it as a sign of weakness and not something that they should be talking about.
And you don't think it is?
Absolutely
Why not? Why do you think that's not the case?
Because regardless of gender, regardless of culture, regardless of your situation, everybody has the right to seek mental health help.
But how do we break that sort of gender norm of men feeling that speaking to a therapist is not manly enough? How do you break that?
I'd say more education around the subject, more workshops maybe in the community, in the masjids and stuff, people that encourage seeking help for mental health. And it would be great. I mean, I know there are mosques out there now that do more. They have workshops and they do encourage mental health and stuff because they know it's become such a large part of our community, especially amongst the youth. So just doing things like that, more community engagement, I think is very, very important.
I mean, you already started telling me about one of your research studies. I mean, do you want to get into some more of those?
Yeah, I mean, so my initial project that I wanted to do was to look at the barriers affecting men. But when I looked into, research papers and things like that, there wasn't actually anything credible that I could use as part of my research study. So I broadened it to all genders. But then in my mind, my focus was, right, okay, so we're going to focus on all genders, but how many men would actually take part in the research study? And it was, I think, 65% of women that answered as opposed to 35% of men. Yeah, so already, I mean, it was sent equally amongst, everyone. But that reluctance for men to even answer a questionnaire about mental health.
Do you think this is something that will affect these men when it comes to, let's say, for some of them, if they're at an age where they're not married yet or they haven't found a partner yet? Do you think these are things that they need to start considering before they start looking for a partner?
Absolutely. I mean, before getting into a relationship, you should make sure that you're mentally happy with where you're at. That's really important. You need to be a whole as yourself, as opposed to looking at someone else for happiness and the answer to all your issues.
And I mean, I'm saying men, but I mean, I know it's not just men.
Of course
with that
not.
regard, there are definitely people that I know that are women as well that could probably do with some support as well. But it's definitely one of the things that you think you should consider, maybe having a counselling session or two just to see where you are before you start talking to a partner. Is that something you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard somewhere that there's some countries that you have to do couples counselling before you even get married, just to make your
that's interesting.
just to make sure that your values align, your morals align. I think a lot of the times people expect people to change after marriage. But all right, it's okay. Once you get married, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
That's not the answer to everything.
No, it isn't. I mean, you have kind of half answered this question, but another one of the questions was, have you found that more South Asian people in general are open to receiving mental health support and therapy as opposed to, let's say, 15 years ago?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much more education around it. In schools, colleges, unis, workplaces, they encourage, mental health support. They have well-being stations and places where you can go within that, within those organisations. Education, again, so important around it. 10-15 years ago, we didn't have that luxury. It wasn't recognised as much. But I just feel like the generation, for example, like the millennials, they have witnessed certain things that doesn't sit right with them. Obviously, they've grown up in this country.
Like what? What would you say?
For example, staying quiet, keeping the peace. But whose peace are you keeping? Because it's definitely not your own. And, things like that. And, or, women should be a certain way, or men should be a certain way and stuff. But which is it's deep-rooted in culture.
Yes.
So, yeah, being brought up in England, and we have like more access to things and stuff, and it's not culturally acceptable for certain things. So yeah, definitely has been a lot of progression in the South Asian community, but there's still so much more room for improvement.
100%. And I mean, like I said to you, these stigmas need to be broken down, and saying to somebody, just be more honest with one another. It seems so simple, yet so difficult. So, I mean, what would your message be to, men and women who might need to hear that?
I'd say it's only when you address the most difficult things or do the most difficult things that amazing things happen. And if you can be honest with one another, be kind to one another, that will make so much difference.
One of the demographics that we haven't talked much about is younger people. And I know you deal more with younger people. So what can you tell us about the situation with, let's say, under 18s and mental health? Because it is in the news as well that the mental health stats show that younger teens and teens are likely to have mental illnesses, and there's a higher chance of them getting those. So what do you want to say to that?
I mean, there's so many factors in considering.
What sort of factors do you want to go into them?
So there's social media is a big one. There's so many pressures, external pressures, look a certain way, act a certain way, have the latest things and stuff like that. That's not realistic. You'll have like a handful of people that will showcase, oh, I've got this and I've got that. And they're really high expectations, especially in like a normal society. And then you'll have things like filters and Facetune and things like that. So then they have this pressure, oh, I need to look that way, but I don't look like that.
Have you heard of looks maxing? Have you heard of that?
I haven't, no. What is that?
So looks maxing is this thing, especially with teenagers. And Saad is currently staring at me from the other side of the camera as I talk about this. It's this... So there's like apparently this sort of default way a person's face should look.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to pull it up onto my phone here, so you might have to bear with me a second. And basically the way they talk about it is it's like your jaw should be aligned a certain way, your nose should be shaped a certain way, there should be some face symmetry, that kind of thing. And yeah. For example, and I mean, I've just picked this from YouTube. It's like this.
Oh gosh, okay.
So that's something that I definitely know for definite. I know that affects some teenagers, especially growing up. They feel like there's a set way they need to look, and obviously, um, there's a lot more gym content out there, and boys feel like they must look like the gym bro that they keep the eye on. They've got to have big bulky muscles like him, and they've got to
That high on steroids.
yeah,
Can I say
yeah.
that?
So some of them are. So I mean, I don't blame you for saying that. Um, and with girls, supermodels, everybody, sometimes girls feel like their standards have to be that of somebody that's going to be taking part in Miss Universe, when that definitely isn't the case. And I'm sure you can testify to that. And yeah, I know those things definitely have an effect.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that one?
Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. The fact that everything's on social media, there's so many things, so many people that are more accessible now as well. And then that causes problems because it starts off at an early age. And there's just so much pressure around that.
Any other factors you feel affect teenagers?
Anxiety, depression, exams, the need to, the pressure to always perform and always, out. There's always a competition of some sort. And, GCSEs, that's a massive one. There was a couple of people just a few months ago that received their GCSE results and attempted suicide and succeeded, unfortunately. And in hindsight, you're more than your test results, you're more than exam results, and of course you want to succeed and you want to do the best that you possibly can do, but there's more to that. There's so much more to that.
And what would your message be to those people, those teenagers?
You are so much more than what an exam paper says. You're kind, you're ambitious, you've got so much going ahead, you've got so much potential that doesn't just lie with exam results.
I mean, I've done a lot of talking. I'm sure you've got some stories you wanted to share.
I feel like I've spoken a lot too, though.
You think you've spoken a lot? I don't think you've spoken much at all. I think you let me do the talking. I started talking about looks, Maxine, for God's sake.
That was really interesting. I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the more conversations you have with me and Saad, I'm sure will get you tuned into everything. You know about the red pill ideology as well, I'm sure. Do you know about red pill?
Yeah.
Good, let's talk about the red pill.
Let's not.
No, I think we
let's not.
No, because this definitely has an effect on children's mental health and teenagers growing up. I know for a fact, well, I don't. It turns out I was gaslit into believing so, but I thought that during my first year of college, I was consuming red pill content and, it kind of had an effect on me.
And what sort, can I ask what sort that was?
So, I felt like I had to behave a certain way and I had to act a certain way because of like the things that I'd seen, the videos I'd watched of, let's say, Andrew Tate, for example.
Yeah.
And that led to some fiery discussions, some debates, and it caused rifts between people, people that I was friends with or that I knew of at the time. Obviously, I'd learned later on down the line that that wasn't the case. It was just more of something that I'd gaslit myself into believing, because I didn't hold those beliefs that I thought I held. For example, for me personally, I don't conform with traditional stereotypes.
Okay.
I don't conform with like traditional gender norms, like, the wife needs to stay at home and she needs to cook and clean, and the man needs to go out and do the work. I don't conform to that. I don't believe we live in a world where that, firstly, it's not really viable for a lot of people for that gender norm to work. And also, I feel like the world's changed so much and things are so different that that sort of ideology doesn't work in this new world that is forming at the moment. But at the time, I felt like I was obliged to fall under those standards, and It turns out it wasn't. It was just I've made myself like believe that I needed to be like that. And again, the same happens with a lot of boys and a lot of teenagers and even grown men. Not even just teenagers and boys. This happens to grown men where they feel like they they have to fit in this box where there's a certain way of doing things, and that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it is, and there's no way forward, no way back. That's just the way it has to be.
Yeah.
You're making me talk way too much here.
It's interesting.
But yeah, what do you want to say to that? What's your take on it?
I think what works for one person isn't going to always work for another person.
Agreed.
You'll have a household where the woman does stay home and does the cooking and the cleaning and, takes care of the children. The man goes out to work. That would work for them, and that's completely fine. Then you have another household where they both work and they take care of the children together. They have a village, they have grandparents and things like that, or they have childcare and things. That will work for them. Then you'll have a household where the man will be the homemaker and the woman will go out to work. That works for them. That's fine. Like, there doesn't have to always be, like you said, we don't always have to fit in a box. And there's so much judgment around all these different types of, ways of having a household, which whatever works for you.
No, I completely agree, and that's the same thing I go with. It's what suits you best.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've dodged the question again. Red pill ideology. I want you to give me your take on it. And you can roll your eyes at me, but I genuinely do want to hear what you got to say on this.
I think not everyone should be allowed a mic. There needs to be a license somewhere.
Nope, I agree. But I mean, that means that I wouldn't be allowed a mic. I'm a journalism student. I'm a second-year journalism student. Hey, oh, Sal just whispered a name into my ear. I fear if I mention the name that was whispered into my ear, I might get another comment under my video, or I might get another comment under my video, or I might have somebody coming down to where I live.
Okay, should we not? Should we not say that name then?
Should we say the name? No, should we not say the name? Finally, we shouldn't say the name. But yeah, there are definitely people that shouldn't have mics, and I agree with you on that. But I mean, please tell me why. Why shouldn't people have mics?
Just some of the hate that people spew. I mean, I feel like we're all trying our best, and it's hard enough to be in a world where there's so many expectations.
Yes.
As it is, rather than, I think, for example, someone said that if you wear a coat on top of an abaya, you're going to hell. Like seriously, like that's not okay to say something like that. And just spewing hatred, like it just baffles me that they think that it's okay to say that and it's justified.
I mean, there's nothing more else I can add to that. I feel like we're on the same wavelength on that regard. But yeah, going back to you, are there any stories you want to share about your experience so far?
Obviously, I can't give any specifics.
And that's fine.
But when it comes to therapy, I think a lot of people think that when they come, it has to be because of something big. For example, I do some grief counselling, and when they come in and they've lost somebody and they're sat there and they're talking about their grief and things like that, that sometimes majority of the time, it is actually, that's an excuse for them to come to counselling, and it opens up so many other issues that they're experiencing, self-esteem, anxiety, self-worth, things like that. Their morals and values don't align with how they're made to act and stuff. So it just opens the Pandora's box. But it feels like people have to have an excuse in order to come to counselling, but that shouldn't be the case. If you're not feeling okay and something doesn't feel right, then there should be nothing stopping you from accessing counselling services. It doesn't have to be something big in order for you to access that.
No, I agree. Completely agree. You got your book there. You wanted to give us some quotes. I mean, listen. I think we've definitely got time for some of the quotes, haven't we? Yeah, we've got time for some of the quotes. So
I mean, just before
chuck
we
them
get
at me.
on to quotes,
Please do.
you know, one of the things I asked in the research study was, have you ever accessed counselling? And 66% of people said no. And then another question was, do you find counselling is necessary for better mental health? And 77% of people answered yes. So it's like there's a significant gap between belief and action. They believe that it's necessary for better mental health, but then there's so many people that are not accessing
What do you
that.
think it's going to take for that push to get people from believing to actively taking action for it?
More education, more acceptance, people talking more.
How? What education? Where?
Like I said before, community workshops, you know, religious leaders, anyone that has a stance in community, especially when we're looking at the Muslim community, they are going to go to people that are more religiously connected, because that's the first thing we do when we're feeling upset. So yeah, just people doing, just raising more awareness and normalizing asking for mental health. I mean, at the moment, I think there's around 8 men per day that do commit suicide, which is so sad and so scary. And, you know, it shouldn't be the case.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Feel free. I know you've got your quotes in the book. She had some quotes that she said she was going to share. She wanted to share them at the end, and I feel like we are coming towards the end of this video. I think hopefully we've tackled some of the issues that needed tackling.
Yeah.
Unless you feel like there's something that I missed.
No, I think you covered quite a bit.
Do you think I covered enough? But as long as I don't get somebody shouting at me down the mic from the other side.
Do they have any questions?
Do you two have any questions? No? Saad? No? So yeah, feel free to jump into the quotes.
Okay, so there's this book that I absolutely love.
Do you want to zoom in on the book? Zoom on the book,
Oh,
Saad.
where?
Maybe. Actually, maybe fuzzy. That's... Yes, Saad. You can zoom in on it. Go on. There we are. Okay. You can talk about it.
So it's a children's book. They have taken out an animation, I think a couple of years ago, with that, and it mentions all the quotes. But it's basically about a boy, a mole, and a fox. And they just have some lovely things that they say to each other and things like that. So one of the quotes is, isn't it odd? We can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside.
Oh,
and I
like that.
Yeah, and I just think that's just such a beautiful quote. I mean, you know, we always have this persona. We may look the part, or we may act the part, but it's only when we're inside and the door's closed and that, you know, our mask falls off and we start battling what's really, you know, hurting us or anything like that mentally. And I feel like that's really relevant when it comes to counselling.
And I feel like that is something that, you know, I do things like that personally.
Okay.
Taking mental health walks and, you know, needing alone time or me time, that kind of thing I do to kind of tackle with issues, to give myself a bit of a distraction, to give myself a bit of room. But again, like you said, I don't think it's enough, is it? So, I mean...
But it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's why I got to add to that.
Okay. And I won't bore you with too many. I mean, there's so many. I could read
bored.
the whole book.
I quite like that one. I can't wait to see what's next.
One of my absolute favourites. What is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse.
So I said you just read the whole book.
It's good, isn't it?
It is, I like it.
Yeah, so it's like,
copy.
You know, as like before the whole masculinity thing and stuff like that, we often see it as a sign of weakness. I mean, there's a podcaster that I absolutely adore, But she took out an episode a couple of weeks ago, and she said men shouldn't seek therapy.
Oh,
Honestly, my perception of her changed. Like, all her content is great, but that one line, I think that's so dangerous to spew.
Very, and there was in the same way. I was. It was one of these men that spread dawah. One of them was, and for people that don't know what dawah is, it's spreading the message of Islam. And I didn't admire him, but I did kind of like his sort of journey.
Yeah.
And I think he was giving a speech in a mosque, and he said, one brother came to me one time and he said, "Oh, I've got ADHD." I was like, "Oh, ADHD doesn't exist." And I'm like, but it does.
Of course.
Definitely exists.
Yeah.
And it definitely has an effect on people.
Yeah.
And you've just completely segregated a whole group of people and made them feel like what's going on in their head isn't worth the time.
Yeah.
So no, that definitely happens, and all it takes is one thing for somebody to say, and it just completely changes your perception.
Yeah, definitely. And they see it as a sign of weakness, asking for help, but it's actually a sign of strength, knowing and recognizing that there's something wrong or something that doesn't feel right, and asking for help it's so brave, and I would definitely, encourage that.
Is that? Have you got one more?
I might have one more.
I think I can see.
Do you know what?
There's two. Oh, there's three. I'm looking at your little
the
your little markers.
Yeah.
So there are three. Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
Go on, give us it.
Asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up.
Oh, they're all good, man. I do like them all. This isn't an overreaction. Before anybody dares say I'm overreacting, these are genuinely good quotes. They're cute. They're from a kid's book, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not expecting them to be, the Great Gatsby or William Shakespeare. But I mean, they do the trick.
Well, it's the simple things that have the most impact.
Yes, 100%. I mean, give us your little, thing about that. What's your little synopsis of that one?
Just whatever it says on the tin, Giving up. I mean, people think, oh, she's asked for help or he's asked for help, and they must be at the brink of giving up or whatever. But it's the beginning. It's the beginning of a whole new journey and a bright future.
It is. Well, I think, like I said, I think we covered what we could cover today. I really enjoyed having you on. Really did. This was very fun.
Thank you for having me on. If you want to
put the camera onto her, Saima does want to kick off her own page. I know she does secretly. She needs a push. So please, you can turn the camera back to me now, Saad. I am the one talking. Bloody hell. So please, show her some love and support. I will definitely. Am I going to be tagging the page that you currently have, or are you going to make separate one? What am I doing?
I mean, you can tag that for now.
That
and then,
for now?
Yeah.
I'll tag Saima into the videos, obviously. Definitely keep eyes posted on her. The questions that some of you sent to me, she is the person for it. I will definitely have her on later on, and I will definitely bring her on more often, because mental health is an important thing that needs looking into, that needs educating on, that needs people to be spreading awareness of and paying attention to, and Saima is doing just that. And hopefully by the time you see her on this page next time, she'll know a bit more about looks maxing and redpill content and that type of stuff, because I mean, come on, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
34.
She doesn't look 34 to me. But hey, she's 34. It's a compliment, by the way.
Thank you.
But yeah, this has been Pulsivate. I've been Amar Hussain. This was spreading awareness on mental health awareness. There are many charities and phone numbers that you can contact. I will put them onto the page as I am speaking, and they will probably be in the descriptions as well. I love you all. Lots of love. And yeah, peace. We good? Yes, I'll get the zoom in my door.